Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
So we are here at the We are here at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple today. Today we are having Minds of Ministers. This is a conversation we just talk. This idea came from the YouTube channel which I'm watching. I like baseball. Then when I go to the YouTube channel in Japan, Japanese YouTube channel, sometimes those former professional baseball players, they just sit and talk. That's really interesting. So I thought it is interesting just a Jodo Shinshu minister sit down together, then we just talk. So we named this YouTube conversation Minds of Ministers. So
yeah, and also there's also other certain YouTube shows like Between Two Ferns and different conversational pieces, and I think it's good to have something where ministers can kind of just break out of their normal roles of Dharma talks and just talking about what they think is the issues that are at hand, and from a Buddhist perspective, what's the Buddhist take on certain things that can happen in the world.
So maybe we should introduce ourselves first, briefly. So my name is Katsuya Kusunoki. I'm the resident minister of Seattle Betsuin Buddhist Temple. I was born and raised in Japan. My hometown is Nagasaki. I was born and raised at the temple family, Jodo Shinshu temple family. After I graduated high school, I went to Miyazaki University. Then I was joined for the just like a Peace Corps. Then I came back to Japan. Then I started studying Buddhism in Kyoto, Japan. Then about 10 years ago, I came here to the United States as a Buddhist minister, Kaikyoshi minister. So my background, education, I took all in Japan. So how about you?
My name is Takashi Miyaji. I'm originally from, I grew up in Utah, but I'm originally from LA. I grew up there and pretty much spent all of my life in California before I finished at the Institute of Buddhist Studies, and then I went over to Japan to study there for about 8 years, and I went through like university, Ryukoku University, the graduate program there, and then finished my doctoral program, and here I am now at Tacoma Buddhist Temple. I'm in my 3rd year here, so that's basically my history.
So your parents is Japanese, then
Yep.
your father is a Buddhist minister.
Yeah.
But you were born and raised in the United States.
Right, that's correct. Yeah.
So my father was also the Jodo Shinshu minister, but I was born and raised in Japan. So we have some similar background, but we also have a different background too. So then also, there's some cultural difference between the United States and Japan. Then how many years you were in Japan to study Jodo Shinshu?
9. Pretty
nine,
much,
9 years?
I want to say 9. Yeah, almost 9. Yeah.
9 years.
Yeah, better part of it.
Do you have anything you feel this is totally different cultural difference?
Yeah, let's see. That's a good question.
The food?
Yeah, the food is way better over there. Let's see. They don't do Sunday services over there, so there's that's different, I think, between here and over there. People go to the temples, I think, in Japan just for special services, or like funerals and memorial services, but they don't have a weekly activity. But on the other end of that, though, there's the temples over there are beautiful. The temples are really nice. There are thousands. They're everywhere. So if you say you're a Buddhist, it's normal, and so that's actually the really, I think, cool thing, that you can have this feeling of comfort of being a part of a tradition that's been there for hundreds of years, and so I think that's a really nice thing.
Yeah, that's one difference. Like you said, here in the United States, most temple but I can say all Buddhist temples are having a Sunday service. But in Japan, maybe just a few temples, not many temples are having Sunday service.
Yeah.
But my family temple is one of these few temples. My family temple has the Sunday service.
Oh,
actually,
nice.
the Dharma school every Saturday night.
Yeah.
So the history of over 100 years. Then Sunday service, so Dharma school on Saturday night, then adults comes on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. So my father started Sunday service like almost just a copying the Christian church.
Yeah.
Because, all the members, Christian, they go to the church.
Yeah.
So it is really good, opportunity to propagate, spread the Jodo Shinshu teachings. So this is one cultural difference. Then my father adopted that's Christian culture, Christian churches, how they are doing to the Buddhist temple in Japan.
And Nagasaki also is a really interesting place because, historically speaking, that was the one port that Japan allowed for foreign trade and foreign people to come through. And so I think I went to Nagasaki a couple years ago just to kind of check it out. But it's a really interesting place. You can definitely, it's like Kobe, where you kind of see the influence of outside the Western influence, I think, is there. But do you see a lot of Christian presence in Nagasaki?
Well, because I was born and raised in Japan, I don't compare. I don't know how other areas, how many percentage of let's say at the school in the classroom when I was the students, elementary school students, in a class maybe about 40 students in one class. I can say maybe 10 students out of 40 probably
We're Christian.
the Christian. Probably, maybe 5 students. I don't know. Well, in Japan, at the school we don't talk about religion. Then we don't know what kind of religion they belong to. So people know I am a Buddhist, because my father is a Buddhist minister. Everybody knows about that.
Okay.
However, other people, we don't talk about religion.
Oh, okay.
But here in the United States, a little bit different. Sometimes I hear even the students, they talk about religion. Then this is actually my wife told me this conversation, students' conversation. There's one Christian student. There's another student who is a Buddhist. They are best friend. They are best friend. They pray every day. They are really good friends. But I heard one day those Christian friends told Buddhist friend, you are Buddhist, so you cannot go to heaven. You are going to hell. So those Buddhist students really shocked, surprised, because their best friend, but the best friend told him, you cannot go to the heaven. They have to separate. So when I hear this conversation, I was really surprised. One is students talk the religion, but their best friend, but still because of the religion, sometimes you go to hell, I go to heaven. So this kind of conversations. So this is something I've never experienced in Japan. So do you have any experience?
Yeah. For myself, I have actually. I've been told that, I was gonna go to hell, and that's happened in 7th grade in my intermediate school. I almost think that it's kind of like a rite of passage for non-Christians to be told this. I think that it's like it's one of those things that every non-Christian will go through at some point. But when I was in 7th grade, I got told by a classmate of mine who said that he said, "Oh, I heard that you're a Buddhist, or that your dad was a Buddhist minister." And I said, "Yeah, he's a Buddhist minister." And I am Buddhist. I go to a Buddhist temple. And he told me, "Oh, did you know that you're going to hell?" And I said, "Whoa!" And it just really kind of struck me that he would say something straight up like that, and it was just very abrupt and very kind of shocking, and I didn't really register in my mind until much later, later on that day when I started thinking about that issue, and so yeah, it's tough, and people get told that a lot, I think, at school, I think, and kids at that age, 7th grade, I'm like about 14 or so, I don't really know, and the other kid doesn't really know either about religion. They just kind of just say what they've been told to say, or what they've been told, and so I think he's just, as a matter of fact, very, very cold, or very, very, objectively just said, you're going to hell, and yeah, that stuck with me. I still think about that till this day. I still remember being told that. And talking to my dad about that. That actually was one of the good ways that started the conversation within myself about what religion is, what the role of religion is, and why do people say certain or do things to each other because of religion, I think. Yeah.
But then when you were, your friend told you about, you go to hell, then did you ask your dad?
Yeah, talk to my dad. Yeah,
then what did he say?
I don't remember. I don't remember at all. But he might have said something, to the effect. I don't know. I don't even know anymore. But he made me feel better, And so, but later, in high school, there was another incident that happened, which I won't go into detail here. It's not that big of a deal. But the same kind of essentially thing happened. This issue of Christianity making itself known in a public school setting, and so. So then I started talking to my dad again about this and about religion, and he said, in Christianity, there is kind of this tendency of the duel between good and evil, and this constant struggle. But this is as a Buddhist, morality and the fight between good and evil. I don't know. It's not as it's not the main topic in Buddhism, I don't think. Do you get that impression? I get that impression that good and evil, or words like justice. Where does, first of all, from a Buddhist perspective, justice is like, I think the understanding is, where do you come off telling me that you can understand what right and wrong is? We're all trying our best here. We're all trying to live by the golden rule. Then justice is a very difficult thing for Buddhists to kind of, I think, be very stern on. And yeah, is that your impression of Buddhism? About
Buddhism, well, my understanding of Buddhism is we don't judge good or bad. So more like we should try to understand everything happening in this world as it is. Yeah. So my life as it is, we try to understand what it is, because a Buddhist understanding, we all have a kind of blind passions, bonno. Yeah. So we try to understand everything using my own way. Yeah. Then that's why everybody has a different understanding. Yeah. So when we use a Buddhist view, Buddha's view, or wisdom eyes, then we try to understand everything as it is, try to accept as they are. So probably that's a Buddhist practice, I think. Yeah.
And I think that's the difficulty of trying to portray or explain what Jodo Shinshu Buddhism is, because I think in this society it's heavily influenced by Judeo-Christian values, and so this idea of right and wrong is always like at the center of what religion is supposed to be, and that's how people define religion, and religion is supposed to answer to those questions, and if it doesn't do that, it's not a religion. And I think Buddhism, kind of struggles with how to fit Buddhist teachings into this context of a Judeo-Christian influenced society. And I think that's what makes it really hard. But at the same time, I think the perspective of Buddhism, if it's explained clearly, it can have, it can change people's mindset, perspective on this society. To say that, we all have faults. We are all imperfect people, but we're all doing our best and we're trying our best. And so we need to be more tolerant of each other. I think that kind of mindset is what Buddhism can appeal, appeal itself to the people. But it's hard to get that message across, I think. Yeah.
Well, this is our first time to try to do these minds of ministers. For the first time, maybe we did a good job.
Yeah, I think so.
So maybe we try again for using another topic to discuss. Having minds of ministers. To conclude this discussion, minds of ministers, let's put our hands together and Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. ありがとうございました。
Thank you.